Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, sat down with Elizabeth Segran of Fast Company to talk about building her brand as ever, her podcast, and her pioneering partnership with Netflix. I'm so excited to finally get a chance to talk about this interview. I've already read it, but we're going to read it again together, and I'm going to give my thoughts at the end. So excited to get into this. There were so many gems dropped because, of course. So let's get into it. Thank you for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about an interview Fast Company was able to snag with Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, as we talk all things her current business ventures. I'm really excited to get into this. However, just as a quick disclaimer, if this is not your cup of tea and you're not interested in this video or any other video of mine for that matter, please exercise your free will. You have my blessing. Click out and go find the content you're looking for. And for the rest of us, we're going to get into this interview and dissect it. I'm so excited to talk about my thoughts and hear your thoughts in the comment section. Before we do, if you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. Once again, this interview was conducted by Fast Company, and it's titled How Meghan Built Her Pioneering Partnership with Netflix. As the first season of her podcast ends, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, is looking to build on the success of As Ever, the brand she built with Netflix. This was written and conducted by Elizabeth Segran. Meghan carries many titles these days. Besides being the Duchess of Sussex, she's a podcaster, a philanthropist, a children's book author, the star of a Netflix show, and the founder of a direct-to-consumer startup. But when I sit down to speak with her, she says she's recently taking on a new role, that of Tooth Fairy. Can I pause here? I love that in all things, no matter how much success Meghan garners, no matter how many new interests she decides to indulge in, being a mom and wife is always a priority for her. And at no point does she sacrifice building and enjoying living her own life and building and enjoying living the life of her family and with her family. She is able to truly balance fulfilling her own needs and pouring into herself while fulfilling the needs of her family and pouring into them. And I think that is so inspirational, but aspirational, because as you know, if you're listening to me, you're probably in a certain demographic. You're either about to raise kids, already raising kids, or have raised kids, or have been married, or have pursued a career, or just done very adult things that really do require a lot of self-sacrifice. And one of the things that everybody talks about in every age group, one thing we can all agree on is that balance is an ever fleeting thing. Even if you don't have children, if you don't have a full-time career, there's always something pulling at you and calling for your attention, especially if you dare to dream in this world. There's always obligations and responsibilities associated with those things. The things that we want require us to show up to obtain them. And it can be great to have those things fulfilled, but it can also be very difficult to find balance. Something that I really have enjoyed getting to know about Meghan, outside of all of the other business and philanthropic things that we hear and talk about her, is how she continues to show up for her family and for those who care about her, but she never stops showing up for herself. And if she does, we just don't know about it. I'm sure there's a lot of balance and sacrifice along with that. There are times where she doesn't get what she wants exactly, but she has to compromise. I'm not saying that compromise isn't part of that, but what I'm saying is she is still a priority. And that's probably the only way she can continue to show up for those who love her and for herself, is that you have to pour back into yourself in order to pour into other cups. That takes some people 50, 60 years to learn. We literally just talked about her interview with Tina Knowles, and I heard Tina Knowles echo this in other interviews as well, is learning that she is enough and that she is okay by herself in her 70s. And by goodness, I'm so glad that she learned that and she recognized that. And what's even funnier is that throughout the book that she wrote titled Matriarch, I suggest going and picking that up. I've already started mine. It's really good so far. But something that I see throughout the book and people who are recapping the book is that the people around her, like her daughters, her friends, her family, they are constantly kind of pointing out that she is enough and what her standards should be and what they feel about her and what they see in her. And there are times where we can really be blinded to that, and we don't always treat ourselves accordingly. And sometimes we can really compromise with ourselves because we're trying to show up for others. And sometimes it's just one of those things about life. Others can sometimes see our value better than we can. But I hope that we never forget to seek that. If you realize that you maybe aren't treating yourself the best, or pouring back into yourself, or making yourself a priority or the priority, then I hope that you do come to a moment where you realize your worth and you give that to yourself. And so I bring that up to say every phase of life, it affords us this opportunity to find balance. And should we work hard enough, we will obtain it. And that's something that I enjoy learning about Meghan, is because I genuinely have no idea how she wears so many hats and does all the things. And not just does all the things as far as like bouncing from things to things, like pebble on top of water, just like here, I touched all these things, but actually investing time, doing things with care, actually following through. Nothing that she does seems rushed or thrown together haphazardly, or responsibilities are shirked off to someone else to take care of. As long as I stick my name on it, I'm fine. Like, she doesn't push her children off to just any old nanny who'll take them. And she doesn't just leave her business to the executive board or to the senior management team. And she doesn't just put her name on these initiatives and these scholarships and these grants or any of those things just to say, I was philanthropic today. I put my name on a thing that already existed, whatever. Like, nothing that she does looks like it was done without intention. It was done without the utmost care, and it wasn't done just with any old kind of, put together, rushed together kind of output. Everything she does looks very well manicured, curated, and put together with a lot of care. To be able to do all the things that Meghan does at that high level, at this excellent output, at that high standard, and still remembering to enjoy the moments. Keep in mind, Meghan is not just responsible for her own businesses and her own family and her own things. She's also an investor. And so that comes, and she's a mentor and a mentee. How she does it, I'll never know. But one thing I am enjoying is reading about someone of her stature with all of these things, and someone who's accomplished a lot of the things that I'm looking forward to trying my hand at and accomplishing at some point in my life, and seeing how she does it with great care, and never once, from what we can see, never once putting herself as a last priority or no priority at all. She still takes good care of herself. That is just such an inspiration to me. I'm still curious as to how she's able to do it, but I'm just going to say the more we learn, the more we'll know. So I just wanted to share that in this article with Fast Company, where they're clearly angling to get more information about her partnerships with Netflix and her brand as ever. She's prioritizing the fact that her son hit another milestone. In the same way that when she was interviewing with Tina Knowles, she made it a point to note that her son's birthday was coming up. I think it was the following day, and that same night was a date night. I guess I am getting the answer to that question, is she's clearly prioritizing life and creating balance, and at no point making anything last priority, but especially not herself and her family. What a beautiful lesson to learn. That's why I enjoy these interviews. She doesn't interview a lot, but when she does, she absolutely shares the meat and potatoes. Prince Archie, her 6-year-old son, recently lost his first tooth. Meghan rushed home to ensure she could be the one to leave a little money and a small dinosaur under his pillow. At 2 a.m., Archie woke Meghan up excitedly to tell her what had happened. Quote, I had a lot of business meetings the next morning, but I still chose to cuddle with him the rest of the night. See what I mean? Those mom moments energize me to be a better founder, a better employer, a better boss. These are the kinds of work-life details that Meghan likes to get into in her podcast series, Confessions of a Female Founder, made with the production company Limonada Media, which is also behind podcasts by Sarah Silverman and David Duchovny, among others. It has had more than 800,000 downloads since its April launch. I also want to point out, I appreciate that Limonada Media, it's a women-owned, women-founded, and women-led media company. And I love that anytime we talk about Confessions of a Female Founder, we never miss an opportunity to shout them out because they're doing amazing work. And I love that they treat Meghan, and they treat Meghan well, and they know her worth, unlike the previous production company behind her original podcast, or her first podcast. And I love that podcast moved over to Limonada, and I love that she produced this podcast directly with Limonada. And the difference is palpable. You can definitely tell the way that these conversations are taking hold, the way that Limonada speaks about Meghan, the way that Limonada presents Meghan. She's on the homepage every week. The way that they talk about her podcast and what they themselves got out of it and how excited they were to work with her. They clearly know her worth. That is what you want out of a platform that is hosting whatever creative endeavor you have, because people put their all into their projects and into their work. And if someone's going to produce it, if someone's going to host it, they damn well better know the worth of it. And I love that about Lemonada Media. That's why I'm always shouting them out, and they're always in the sources section of my description box, so people can always know where to refer to them. On the show, Meghan talks with female founders about the origins of their business, along the lines of Guy Raz's How I Built This. But the show also has another dimension. It allows Meghan to get practical advice about launching her own lifestyle brand. As ever, quote, "I'm pulling back the curtain to allow people to see the candid experience of being a founder," Meghan says. In the 8-part series, plus a bonus episode, she's spoken to guests ranging from Bumble's Whitney Wolfe Herd to Kitsch's Cassandra Thurswell. The finale, released May 27th, features Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx and Sneaks. Another point, there's another episode that came out a week later by Tina Knowles, and it is a bonus. In her conversation with Blakely, Meghan talks about how she partnered with Netflix to create As Ever, her new brand, which launched in February. The line included products like tea, jams, honey, cookie mixes, and her iconic flower sprinkles, which are edible flower petals that spruce up dishes priced between $9 and $28. Over the past few years, even as Netflix's subscriber numbers have continued to show impressive growth, it added 18.91 million subscribers, a year-over-year increase of 15.9% in the fourth quarter of 2024. It has also been exploring how it can create products tied to the content of shows. The streaming service now has an online shop that sells everything from cosplay costumes for Squid Games to Stranger Things bomber jackets. With Bridgerton, one of Netflix's biggest hits, the streaming service produced its own products like coffee mugs, but also licensed Bridgerton branding to other companies like Hill House Home and Selkie to produce dresses. That's genius, by the way. Meghan says that she had been exploring various ways of launching a business when Bella Baharia, Netflix's chief content officer, approached her. At the time, I had been working towards building out my own in-house team, Meghan says, but I had a complete U-turn because I completely bought into the vision she was sharing, which is where content and commerce meet, not in a product placement way, but rather in an ideological way. In many ways, this is a pioneering partnership for Netflix. Along with Meghan, the Netflix team decided that it made sense for As Ever to exist on its own without any Netflix branding. This is why the line isn't called With Love Meghan like the show. The brand is in the same universe as the show, but they're not the same, Meghan says. Meghan also points out that Netflix is not just a financial backer. The company's consumer packaged goods team worked closely with Meghan's team to manufacture the products. We are on calls daily, working through product development, SKUs, and inventory. We have a field trip tomorrow to look at different manufacturers and suppliers as we expand the brand. Field trip, that's such a cute term. As Ever's first collection was a runaway success. Meghan says that even though the team spent a year preparing the line and forecasting demand, all the products on the site sold out in 45 minutes. Sure did. Now they're trying to plan As Ever's next phase. I love that they're taking time with the next phase. It can be really easy to lean into demand to the point that it's prioritized and just saying, okay, we just got to get something out while the iron is hot, blah, blah, blah. When you have a good product, the iron is going to forever be hot. People will wait for good quality. People will wait for things to be done the right way. I know that we are in an era where capitalism demands all eyes and attention and all hands on deck, and things are moving at lightning speed, especially online. But I think we are easing back into a paced reality, a paced society. I think we are all pretty burned out with the rush, or the hurry up and wait kind of thing. I think we're all leaning back into quality over quantity and quality over speed. We're willing to wait for the things that matter. We're willing to wait for things to be done right. We're willing to wait until it feels right. I think we're all kind of getting back to that. We had a moment where everything had to be done right now in my face, blah, 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 blah. But I think we're seeing where that leads. I think we're seeing mental health professionals can certainly tell you where that leads. Check out those statistics. People are burning out quicker. People are having midlife crises at 21, 22 years old because they're thinking, as soon as I get out of high school, I got to get it all in one take. Blah, blah, blah. I got to make big money, got to make fast money, got to do this, got to be everywhere, got to be social media, blah, blah, blah. It can be a lot. And as every generation passes, we get a little bit faster, and we go a little bit faster, we do a little bit more, we pile on a little bit more, we do a little bit less that brings us joy, and a little bit more that makes us money. And I love that we are starting to get to a point where we're like, this isn't serving us. Everybody, we're going to pull back a little bit, and we're just going to pace ourselves. I think the way that they're going about as, first of all, with Love Meghan, I think that's the clearest indicator of what I'm talking about. Pacing ourselves to enjoy the moments. I won't even say enjoy, I'll say savor. With Love is a show about savoring life. Prove me wrong. Every episode is Meghan sharing how the little things in her life have a big impact, and how she shares that impact and the joy and the moments that brings her with the people that she loves. Everyone who walked into her kitchen or to that kitchen, who walked into that backyard, and who walked into her garden, anyone who was with her was essentially guided to slow down and savor the moment, not just in their own life, but with Meghan, with a friend, with a new friend, learning something, participating in something, doing something together, having a laugh, learning a new thing, teaching a new thing. That show from start to finish is a show about pacing ourselves to savor the moment and savor Korean fried chicken. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. Savor the Korean fried chicken, because my goodness. But I have to say, that show is a great example of where we are as a society, which is why I think when critics doing what they do best, see a woman who is a person of color and a woman, of course, to see someone in a marginalized community, especially at that intersection, and say, we got to find something to hate about it. Quick, quick, quick. I think when critics did that thing, the way the world responded, I don't have to tell this to anybody watching my channel because I know where you're coming from. But as a squatty, as a person who's a successor, as a person who is a supporter of Harry and Meghan, to see the world finally turn around and say, enough is enough. There were people who usually don't even get into that conversation who were using their platforms to say, what the hell is wrong with y'all? It was a beautiful thing to see everyone come to her defense, especially regarding the relatability thing. I have to say, I was impressed, and that's very rare. I hate that that happens to Meghan. She could breathe, and people are going to be like, but she took up all the air molecules, and now the kids in this area don't get to breathe. Like, they make a problem out of anything. And I hate that she deals with that. I love that she shields herself from that and she's protected, but I hate that that happens. It's just one of those things that I know it's going to happen, but I hate it every time. But something that came out of that with the unrelatable thing was that everyone stepped up. And I finally felt like I saw what should have been happening all along, is rallying. Everyone, whether you, and I hate this disclaimer, whether you like Meghan or not, nobody's asking you to like anybody. She's a person. She's not a show. she has a show, but she's not a human being to be dissected whether or not you like her or not. You don't have the right to give her an approval, blah, blah, blah. She's a person with feelings. She's a human being. No matter how you personally align with any other human being, when you see something is wrong, you are called to use your platform to call it out, which is why when I get complaints about people saying you shouldn't call out things so much, we should just have fun. I have videos where we just have fun, and I have videos where I speak to things that matter to me, and I have that right, and I'm going to do that, which is why I started giving that disclaimer. If this isn't the video for you, you have my blessing to exercise free will, but I am going to use my voice for things that matter, and that is what it is. I don't care how anyone feels about that. I'm going to make use of my time. And I feel that response to the unrelatability thing was what I've been waiting for everyone to get on board. There were obviously us, the squad, calling it out, and then there were women calling it out, and there were men calling it out, and there were Americans calling it out, there were British people calling it out, there was people in Africa calling it out, there were people in Beijing calling it out. Everybody got on board and was like, do y'all genuinely not want her to be happy? And are you genuinely saying if she's showing happiness online, it shouldn't be coming from her? It should be coming from what is the problem? Are we all supposed to be able to afford the same things? And then the part that got everybody, which is what I love, most people came to the same point, which was, and the things that she showed us had zero to do with her being wealthy and had zero to do with her being a royal. Everything she did and showed on that show was affordable and obtainable for everyone, which further emphasize the ridiculousness of the complaints of unrelatability in the first place, because it's not like she showed up to set in a golden carriage. Although if she did, I would still stand. As a matter of fact, I would bow. Could you imagine? But I love that no matter what phase of life Meghan is in, she's still just Meghan. And I thought that show was a show about us getting to know her in a different way, but also pacing and savoring and enjoying. And if a woman who has been through the ringer on a scale that none of us can ever really relate to, like Meghan, can still pause and enjoy herself, I think that's a lesson that we can all do it. We can find that joy in our own lives. It doesn't have to be flower sprinkles, although those are super cool. It can be anything. But just make sure to enjoy the moments, because once they're gone, they're gone. And we don't want to just get through life. We want to savor it. So having to wait for the next launch of As Ever, she in some way trained us to do this. She in some way let us know, like, hey, we don't have to rush this. We actually have something to look forward to. And what a beautiful thing, right? Like, I feel like as a millennial, as an older millennial, I was born in 1980 of the 7. I remember a time where waiting for things really made them special. I remember waiting for dessert until after dinner. I remember playing outside until the streetlights came on. And then because I've been outside all day, I was excited to come in and watch my favorite TV shows before bed. I wasn't just sitting in front of the TV all day. I had something to look forward to at home, at night, in the morning, in the afternoon. I always had something that was coming up next. So I didn't have to rush and do everything right now. I got to enjoy what I was doing in the current moment. It taught me a great deal of patience, but it taught me to enjoy my life. I feel like my generation is one of, if not the last generation that had that. It's okay to enjoy where you are. It's okay to not always be super accessible. It's okay to be with the people who are right in front of you and enjoying a good laugh and not immediately getting into your inbox or your email and DMing. I'm trying to carry 2-3 conversations at once. It's okay to have this moment with a friend, with a loved one, with myself. It's okay to sit here and think and have presence of mind and clear my mind without being inundated with videos and photos and this, blah, 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 with a podcast, with a YouTube, name sharing, Sade, whatever it is. You don't have to have me in your ear all the time. Whatever it is, I just feel like I'm one of the last. Our generation is the last, if not one of the last, to enjoy savoring. And I think society has realized what we've done. And we're coming back from the crash test dummy method of doing things. And I think With Love, Meghan was a great example of that. But As Ever, it sold out quick, but taking its time to bring back all the things that we love, but do so carefully and methodically, I think we are actually appreciating it. I don't think that, I know people are saying that, oh, she's going to have backlash. I saw that conversation. And with any other business, I could probably assume like, yeah, there's always backlash when people have to wait too long. But I think because of the nature of her business, the nature of the way that she's presented it, and the phase of life the phase of society that we're in, I don't think people are going to mind. I think people are finally getting to that place where we really appreciate quality again. It's a nice thing to see. And if you have a problem with Meghan making us wait, come talk to me. I got some words for you. No, just kidding. No, leave me alone. Go complain in your diary. I don't care. The easiest thing to do would have been to endlessly restock the popular products, which would likely sell out very quickly again. But while the As Ever team has hinted online that the items will be back on sale soon, Meghan also wants to take a step back, gather data from the launch, and figure out exactly what As Ever could be. She says she's planning to announce new products in the first quarter of 2026. There are some clues about what new items might be in the pipeline. Meghan's trademark application for her brand includes things like cookbooks, tableware, cutlery, and servingware. Quote, I want to really focus on the hospitality angle of As Ever. But as we take the learnings, we can understand what the customer's needs are seasonally, she says. See what I mean by what benefits you have by waiting and taking your time, not just as a founder and as a business, but for the consumers as well. We get things that more closely align with where we are in our lives throughout the year. There are now new models for successful celebrity brands. As Meghan contemplates what comes next, there are many directions she could go, from focusing on a single product category like Selena Gomez's Rare Beauty and Kim Kardashian's Skims, to a broader play like Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop and Jessica Alba's The Honest Company. But for now, she believes it makes sense to build a brand around a single idea. Quote, my heart is very deeply in my home, she says. Everything comes from being rooted in the love story of your home and garden, and then you can imagine different verticals coming out of that. In the future, though the sky's the limit, I ask whether she might explore a clothing business since many women are drawn to her personal style. The category of fashion is something I will explore at a later date. because I do think that's an interesting space for me. Oh, girl, yes. I think that is one of your many callings. I think that is a space that is waiting for you, that is beckoning for you, and you have answered the call a few times. But when you finally immerse yourself in fashion, girl, trust and believe me, my credit card, my husband's credit card, hell, my mama and daddy's credit cards will be right there waiting. Girl, meet me at the store. As she continues building as ever, there's a good chance we'll hear about her twists and turns through and through a podcast. There's an interest in doing second season of Confessions of a Female Founder, and many female founders have approached her to be a guest on the series. But Meghan is now involved in such a wide range of products, she's sure to find some way to tell her story. Quote, "If I had to write a resume, I don't know what I would call myself," she says. "I think it speaks to this chapter many of us find ourselves in, where none of us are one note. But I believe all the notes I am playing are part of the same song." I know that's right, Meghan. Do not box yourself in. You are doing an amazing job. You are producing amazing content, products, all kinds of things. So we are really enjoying this phase of you expressing yourself, teaching us, entertaining us, and bringing us into your world. And we're taking what we learn and what we experience back into our world. And by doing that, you are making the world a much better place. Just genuinely a much better place. I have really enjoyed all the phases, but I think this is the phase where I actually feel like Meghan is connecting with the world, and we're not just admiring her or watching her or just writing down what we see or talking about what we see. She's giving us an opportunity to actually connect with the things that are present for her in her world, and I think that's a really cool thing for someone who otherwise would likely be very detached from the rest of the world, as she should be for security reasons. I mean, she's a public figure, she's a royal, she's a celebrity, she's got all these things. And she's found a really cool way to express herself, but share herself with the people who are interested in her and her world in a very real and genuine way, but also make sure that people who do want to enjoy her have something to take away. She's looking for ways, or she's found ways by expressing herself to be a benefit to those who support her. I think that is just such cool alignment. I think that's really cool. I think it's very considerate, but I also think that's what we've come to know of Meghan. She's very sweet, very considerate, and she's all about the reciprocity. She doesn't just take from her fans. She doesn't just take from her supporters. She gives. She gives. I mean, her fans are going to show up for her no matter what she sells. Meghan could sell a book cover with nothing on the pages. She could literally sell a blank book and people would be like, this is a damn good journal. I know that much. And I would be people. Meghan could sell anything. Meghan could sell me my own used socks. And I would be like, you know what? If Meghan wears her used socks, let me go up here and take these socks back up to the store and pay $20 for them again. She said it was a good idea. No, I'm not. I wouldn't go that far. But no, Meghan could pretty much sell ice to a polar bear. She knows that her fans trust her. She has a very, very strong relationship with her supporters, with her fans. And I think it's because she does things with being genuine and being extremely authentic. People trust you when you show up as yourself. And although we have seen how that has kind of come back to bite her, it's never made her shy away from being herself and standing up for herself and having her own back. So no matter what comes at her, it's never going to get her down. We say this all the time in relation to both Meghan and Harry. They never said the weapons wouldn't form. We said they wouldn't prosper, and nor have they prospered. And so by showing up genuinely and authentically and prioritizing what's important in life, she's always going to be blessed. She's always going to be carried, and her fans are always going to support her. So no matter how long we have to wait for the next launch of As Ever, no matter how long we have to wait for season 2 of Archetypes or Confessions of a Female Founder or With Love, we're going to be here. We appreciate the effort. We appreciate the sharing. We appreciate the content and the products. We're in a really good space right now. And she's very accessible in a way that I never thought I would see. And so I think we're all just in a place of just being really grateful to have this moment, not just with Meghan, but amongst our own selves, to see things slowing down and to see joy and peace and patience to be prioritized and learning how we can adapt that in our own lives. If we have to wait a year or two, I think we'd all just be happy that we got what we got. I can't speak for everyone, but I think that's the place I'm in, especially after having surgery. I went through that little pre-surgical panic and then that post-surgical misery. And I think I'm just in a space of like, I'm grateful, so grateful for my life and for my loved ones and for being here and having my health back and all those things that I'm not about to sweat the small stuff. If I have to wait an extra day or an extra year for a jar of jam, I'll wait. I thank God I have breath in my lungs to wait. Like, I think that's the place I'm in. And I hope I'm not projecting on y'all, but that's where I'm at. And that's where the people in my space are at. So if we have to wait, that's fine. Quality over quantity, quality over speed. And honestly, thanks Meghan for letting us in. Y'all let me know what you thought about this interview. This is a really good one. Y'all let me know in the. Thank you so much for watching the Sharion Sade YouTube channel. I appreciate you watching my content. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video by hitting the thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. And don't forget to comment along the way. If you feel so inclined, please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Now let's get back to the video. Seeing Meghan continue to prioritize herself, her family, and what's actually important to her, no matter how high she climbs, I think that is a call to action to everyone who has the audacity to pursue anything that's important to them, especially success of some form. Because I think up until this point, we've had a few examples of success done right. But up until this point, something that's heavily promoted in our society, but especially in entertainment, we see it in movies, we see it in music, we see it in moguls, we see it in all over the place, is this idea of business being a dog-eat-dog world, and you have to acclimate to ascend, and you have to be just as grimy as the next person, and you have to be willing to do the dirtiest of dirty and be the worst of the worst in order to survive in this place. And that's just not simply the case. I love seeing good people win. I love seeing people win who stay true to themselves. I think that's why Beyonce's fan base has followed her career from the very beginning. We've seen how hard she worked, but we've also seen that she's never really been willing to cut corners. She's never been willing to hurt people. She's never been willing to double cross. She's always just been Beyonce. And I think that's why her fan base rides for her, because there have been times where she probably could have leaped and jumped ahead if she'd taken some shortcuts or cut some people off or harmed some people or stolen from some people. Nope. She always credits everybody. She relies on her own talent. She's never stopped pursuing her talent. She's never stopped improving her talent. She's never stopped going the long route, getting the lessons and applying it. And that's why all her peers are doing legacy tours and she's doing new world tours and setting new records. And not to put her against anybody else, I'm just saying the people that came up with Beyonce in her original era, those people are on legacy acts, and that's wonderful for them. Keep making that money, but she's still new. She's still renewing herself. She's still appealing to her fan base in new ways and making new music and bringing us new stuff. And people are willing to ride for her because we have seen how genuine she's been and how authentically she's approached her career. You can usually tell a person who only knows of this version of like Beyonce and who's never really invested any time in learning about her as a celebrity, because they often have this idea that she's robotic or she's fake or she's blah, blah, blah. And her fans are like, mama's just an introvert. We've watched her since she was 16 years old, and we're that's just how she is. She's just one of those people. She's not big on interviewing. She's not big on oversharing. She values her privacy, and that's one of the reasons why she's never really oversaturated, because she values her privacy. She doesn't sell herself out. And so I use her as an example to illustrate the point that I took away from this interview with Meghan. You can be a winner, you can be successful, you can reach the highest of heights and never sacrifice who you are at your core. It brings me to that quote from Jay-Z. He has a song called PSA, Public Service Announcement, or an interlude. And he says, no matter where you go, you are what you are. You can try to change, but that's just the top layer. You were who you were before you got here. That is one of my favorite lyrics from Jay-Z. Not my favorite, but one of my favorites, because he's right. No matter where you go in life, no matter your circumstances, no matter who you're around, no matter what you're doing in life, your core, your character, your integrity, your soul, the makings of you is already preset. If you're a good person, if you're a bad person, we're all nuanced. But if you are leaning into bad things, if you're leaning into good things, if you try to do the right thing, if you operate trying to do right by others and yourself, and if you operate trying to undercut others, and you have a grisly spirit and willing to do and undercut and harm anybody to get ahead, no matter what room you're in, those qualities of you will be there. You are who you are. And so I share that here to say, I love seeing good people win, because there's this image promoted to us of success that you have to be willing to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And while that's great, I don't think that pertains to doing wrong by others. I think that pertains to making sacrifices and compromises, not hurting people, not undercutting people, not doing wrong by people. Now, there will be mistakes. There will be moments where you have to prioritize yourself, but there is a way to do and say anything. And if what you are looking to achieve requires you to sell your soul, it's not worth it. Or at least that route is not worth it. You can find a way to get to your destination that doesn't require burning down other people's bridges or harming them or undercutting or cutting off their success. You can be a good person and still succeed. Yet if you let Hollywood tell it, that's not possible. A lot of this ideologically, a lot of the ideology around success in Hollywood is geared towards the whole Wolf of Wall Street type of person. Somebody's got to take a major loss in order for you to take a major win. Don't be the one that loses when we could all win together. Something that I loved, absolutely loved about one of Meghan's first interviews regarding regarding the Sesta Collective and her investment in it was when it was determined that she was going to be a dolphin in a tank full of sharks. She recognized that I'm going to have to swim. I'm going to have to be a version of myself that survives in this environment, but I'm not going to be that version. I'm not going to be you. I'm not going to be your version of things. I'm going to be me in every space. What did Jay-Z say? No matter where you go, you are who you are. That's exactly what that is. She's Meghan. She's not going to go in there and become the Wolf of Wall Street. She's going to go in there and get the same success, if not more, and be Meghan. And we need to see more of that demonstrated in success stories. We need to hear those stories of people choosing to be themselves in every space, in every room, and not conforming to this ideology that we have to become these grisly figures in order to get ahead. I think that's why this era of Meghan, this business oriented and sharing her approach and her philosophy for business has been so beneficial for so many people, but it's resonated with me on a very deep level because as someone who did really well in corporate, but also had to come to those same conclusions that there are certain experiences that I'm having because I refuse to conform. And man, is it isolating. And there were times where I even said, is corporate for me? Yes. Whatever environment you choose to be in is for you. You belong in every room. As Tina Knowles said, you belong wherever you want to go. But you can be there and do things the way you want to do them that align with you and let no one change you. It may take you longer. You might not get to take the route that you want to take, but you will get to your destination if you want it bad enough. And you can do so by remaining true to yourself. Something else Jay-Z says in PSA is either love me or leave me alone. When I tell you, that is my favorite Jay-Z lyric. That might be my favorite rap lyric ever. Because yes, either love me or leave me alone. Every partnership, every affiliation, every job, every opportunity is just not going to be for me. And I'm not going to be for everyone. If you come to me as a mentor, if you come to me as a content creator, if you come to me as a friend and I'm not aligning with every preference you have and I'm just not fulfilling your personal needs, that's okay. It doesn't mean you have the right and you don't have the right to be entitled and change me or try to force me to change myself or my content or anything else. It means you have free will and you have the right to exercise free will and go find what you're looking for in a mentor, in a friend, in a content creator. What it doesn't mean is you get to exercise your free will and project that onto me and say, well, hey, I don't want you to talk about topics that have negativity in them. I don't want you to prove points. I don't want you to argue. I want you to do this thing. You don't have the right to put me in a box. You don't have the right to tell me what kind of content creator I need to be to appeal to your personal feelings because I don't care about that. I'm the kind of content creator that wants to be the kind of content creator that I want to be, that aligns with me. And the people who come here are people who want to see what I have to say. The wonderful thing about content is that you can get this from me and that from them and that from over there. And we don't all have to be the same. Even when I get comments that say, this channel is doing this and I came from over there and I'm sorry, Shane, but I come over here and I don't want to hear this, then take your ass back over there. I genuinely don't know how I'm supposed to respond to that. I think people forget that I'm 37 years old. I'm not trying to be in anybody's friend group. I'm a grown woman who's sharing my opinion on the internet. I don't work for CNN. So as long as I'm not dealing with a fact issue, now if I'm having the facts wrong, then by all means, we need to be correcting that. But if you're coming to me saying, I really hate your new intro music, you really took time out of your day to say that. Okay, babe, you're just telling me you don't know how to exercise free will because the way I fast forward on intros when I don't want to hear that shit is quickly. I don't have to listen to something I don't want to. But what I don't do is go over and say, hey, Prim's Hood Cinema, I want you to talk about this movie. And if you don't, I'm gonna send spam comments on all your other videos. Like, no, I'm gonna watch what I want to watch. But just so happens I've never had that problem. I love everything he puts out. But the point I'm making is you either love me or you can leave me alone. And that's the approach I take to everything in my life. You have free will. And when I tell you it put all the power in my hands, and now I think that's why I have such an averse reaction to entitlement. especially in my 30s, because there's a billion content creators. So to take time out of your day to come and tell me what you don't like about my content when you could just not watch it, is that to me is pure insanity. I can't think of a time where I've watched content that I didn't care for and I stayed to comment to tell that person who worked on that thing that I didn't want to see that thing. And I have never gone over to, let's say, Mally Prince, who I freaking adore. I've never gone to Mally Prince and said, Mally, I like that you talked about this movie, but I just left Jasmine, a Black girl therapist in the wild, and she talked about this other movie, and I enjoyed watching that, but I'm sorry, Mally, I don't enjoy watching your put out. I would feel stupid. I'm always concerned about making myself look crazy because a lot of times before I vocalize something, I'll ask myself, is this something I could have dealt with internally? Or is this something I'm projecting onto this person? Because I would hate to have to hear somebody tell me that, like, Sharion, that's not my problem. Why don't you go back and watch what Jasmine was putting out? Just so happens I'm using examples of people who I love everything they put out. Jasmine, Black girl therapist in the wild, Mally Prince, Prim's Hood Cinema, I freaking Kenny JD. Those are my favorite creators on YouTube, and I love them. And they all recap things, and at no point have I ever felt the need to go and compare one of them to the other or tell them they had to conform to what the others are doing. Guess what I get the chance to do as a consumer? And I'm really lucky to do so. I get to watch them all. And I get to enjoy them all doing it their way. And I have the time of my life. At no point would I want to change them. And if at any point they talked about something that I didn't want to watch, I just don't click that video. And so I'm saying that to illustrate the point that we have free will. If you go into an environment and anything about that environment does not speak to you, if you can live with it, live with it. But if it's something that's truly distracting and you actually have no recourse to change it, then go find the environment where you thrive. What you don't have to do is say, I'm in an environment where we cuss each other out at the conference room table. That's not how I operate. That misaligns with me. I don't like cussing each other out at the conference room table. I'm going to stay, and every time these people get to cussing, I'm going to start crying, and then I'm going to let that affect my mental health, and then I'm not going to be able to show up at home for myself or my kids, and then I'm going to make that my family's problem because now I'm going home projecting onto them. Now my kids are going to school depressed. Now their grades are dropped. You see how this is having an effect? Or what you could do is say, when this happens, I called it out. Can we change? They said no. I could go on interviews, or I could build something for myself. I don't have to become a shark to live in this tank. I could be a dolphin. I could do it my way. We talked about last week how errors or problems breed innovation. A lot of times when people see a problem, they either cave or they run away or they complain. They get stagnant. But there are special people who see a problem and say, there's an opportunity here. A lot of times in business, one of the things that I really hung my hat on was a good problem versus a bad problem. So during the pandemic, I worked for 2 different companies, and then I worked for myself. One of the companies that I worked for was a pillow company. I won't say their name, but they're named after one of the planets of the solar system, or sometimes it's a planet, sometimes it's not. And I worked for them, and they were just starting out. They're doing wonderful now. But at the beginning, the owner did not know what they wanted. And they kept saying, I need somebody to help me build my customer service department. I want them to just take the reins and do it. I'm going to give them my notes. But when I went to go help them do that thing, something that I was helping a lot of businesses do at the time, non-competitive businesses. They weren't in the same sector, but I was helping a lot of businesses build certain departments and scale. But when you're advertising that you need help and you need someone to take the reins, and I want them to take my notes, and I want them to build this. I don't have experience building this. I don't know what I'm doing, especially in e-commerce. You do. You scaled 5 businesses, particularly starting with their customer care department. I'm going to give you my notes, but we have to use this to collaborate. And that wasn't the environment. What I was getting was, I like the way you responded, but you need more exclamation points. No. As a customer, I can assure you, get to the meat and potatoes, be friendly, be light, but don't be a salesman. It's okay to cross and upsell here and there when it's necessary, but when you're responding, you don't want to sound like a psychotic cheerleader. You don't want to give the impression, thank you for calling, blah, blah, blah. That is annoying. And I'm sure I just triggered a lot of you when you call a customer service department and they sing to you, or they go around the world and back and they never get to the point of your problem, or you go on, you know the things. Or do you appreciate the friendly but assertive person who says, thank you for calling this place. I just read your problem. I have these options for solutions. Let me run through them. Which one works for you? Here's how fast I can get this done for you. I'm so sorry that happened. Now that we got your problem solved, I'm going to go ahead and give you 10% off on your next purchase. I'm really sorry you had that inconvenience, but I appreciate you giving us the time to fix your problem. That's the environment you want. You don't want the, oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh no. Like, cannot tell y'all. As you can tell, I was quality control for a long time, but it used to drive me crazy. And so I was helping this person build their customer care department, and they wanted zero feedback on returns. And I said, well, wait, when people return products, we want to know why, so that when you go back into product development and quality control, you can kind of tell them, like, this is a reason for a high rate of return. We need to apply this information as we're creating so that people return our products less, or we appeal to more people. And she said, I don't need to know that. They're going to like my product or they're not going to like it. I respect that. But you said you wanted me to scale your customer care department? You still want me to do that? And not only that, we were really misaligned in what she wanted versus reality. And again, that comes back to that concept of break a few eggs to build an omelet. Like, yes, what you want, you have every right to execute, but you don't have the right to dictate how people respond to that. I think there's a healthy compromise here. I think you could evolve in how you see your business and how you see your customer care. And I think you could also solicit expert advice and rely on that expert advice to guide you in areas where you have never been before. They hired me for advice. They would not take my advice. And I finally said, I think you are looking for a soundboard. I am very results driven, and I can make whatever vision you want come to life, but that will take some doing, and I have to have some form of leeway. There are a lot of problems that you have, and a lot of them are good problems to have. But in order for it to be a good problem, it means that we can produce something out of this problem. This means there's an opportunity for innovation. There are good challenges. There are good problems to have. For example, during the pandemic, one of the companies that I was helping, their sales completely stopped, and every single sale that was active got returned in 2 months. People panicked. Whereas in this situation, this other lady that I was helping, her sales continue. She had inventory issues because things got stuck in customs again because of the pandemic. But what I was telling her was, hey, these orders are still active. This is okay. This is an okay problem to have. We're going to have a delay. It's better to be telling our customers, hey, your order is going to be delivered 2 weeks late. We're going to give you $2 off your shipping. We're so sorry for the inconvenience. It's great to be saying that to them rather than, we're so sorry it didn't work out. Your refund will be processed in 3 to 5 days. I said, so we have a good problem on our hands is that we still have the customer. They still want the product and they're willing to wait. We are winning as much as we can in this season. That's what we need to rely on. And we just need to execute. And she was like, I don't like the idea that that's a good problem. It's still a problem. Okay, well, then I won't use that terminology with you. And she's like, well, I don't know that I want you even thinking that. I said, well, you don't have that right. I was very, well, you don't have the right to tell me what to think, but I certainly won't share that version of it. I won't express it that way if that bothers you. And she's like, I mean, I don't like looking at any problem as a welcome thing. We need to be trying to solve problems. Well, go solve the pandemic. I want you to go fix COVID and then come back. Like, are you going to go throw on a vest and work at customs? Like, girl. But again, misaligned expectations, misaligned delivery, misaligned people. And I realized after 5 weeks, this is not the role for me. I have done as much as I can. So I wrote a report of all my recommendations. I still delivered for her, gave all my recommendations, the results, the research, the data to back it up, all that stuff. And I delivered that to her as well as a recommendation to read Tony Hsieh's book, Delivering Happiness. He has one of the best, most profound books about a customer service and customer care. And I sent that over to her and I said, hey, I think you should really read this book. This might help, drive home some of the ideas that I have in my report. And it might really help you understand where I'm coming from. He's an expert at customer care and e-commerce. And she says, I met Tony Hsieh. He gave me a tour of the Zappos office. And I was like, well, did he read his book to you? Because if not, I still recommend it. It'll drive home. I just stayed the course. Like, I'm not going to go tit for tat. This kind of immature attitude, this kind of like, you gave me feedback on my business. How dare you, even though I paid you to do this? It was very surprising. But what I did was I prayed over the interaction, as I do with everything. And I said, I pray that my words land in the way that if they're meant to. And if not, I hope we never cross paths again. And I get what I needed out of that. Whatever that was supposed to teach me, I hope I receive it. I moved on. Later, I saw that they went on Shark Tank and I saw that their business began to thrive. And I was genuinely happy for them because I said to myself, I think she got out of her own way. I think it's just jitters. A lot of times when everything's on your shoulders, you're not going to be the best version of yourself personality wise, and it's all on you, and someone giving you feedback can sting. Now, what I don't do is pay people to do something and get mad when they do it, but it can feel like a personal attack. And so that's why I prayed over the interaction. And I was so glad to see that she went on to do what she was doing. And then the 3 other companies that I began working with right after took my advice, and they soared immediately. They were open to it. Some of them didn't take everything, but we worked together and they came with a good attitude, and we really dug our hands in, and we all thrived in that season, even though that was a huge season of loss. And so I share that to say, you don't have to be in every environment. Every environment isn't going to call for you, and you aren't called to be everywhere. You aren't called to do everything, and you're not called to be every version that's going to be asked of you. If you don't want to be a shark, don't be a shark, be a dolphin. If you want to go through business and be positive and be fun and be energetic and be helpful and do all those things with a clean heart and a non-guilty conscience, you can. We have very little representation of that in media as it is. We should have more. Interviews like this, With Love, the show, Confessions of a Female Founder, the podcast, these are the types of things that show us you can win in life and in business while remaining true to yourself. You don't have to conform. It's a choice to conform. And I'm not saying it's an easy choice not to conform. There have been many times in my career where I was like, maybe I should just tell her what she wants to hear and milk this money train until I get another client. It was really easy to want to do that. But I would not have been able to sit with myself, because that's not what I'm all about. Who I am is more important than what I can gain in this moment and in this season. Because at the end of the day, if I gain anything and lose myself, then I've lost everything. And so I wanted to share that little experience of it can be really easy to be a different version of yourself to be successful. And Hollywood loves to promote that Wolf of Wall Street attitude. But I would like to promote the Meghan attitude of, I'm going to be a dolphin in a Shark Tank. I'm going to do what's necessary to succeed, but I'm certainly not going to betray myself or others. You damn right, Meghan. Not only that, but the Sarah Blakely approach, when she first started building up Spanx. And she said that she met with her team or that group that she was in, that investment group. And that guy was like, business is war. Be prepared. And he even had a like a condescending laugh with his friend, and they had banter about it. Like, oh, it's business is war. And she was like, it doesn't have to be. Simple as that. Advocating for yourself, just simple. I don't have to be in war. I can simply be in business. And the two aren't synonymous. It's what you make it. Kind of like a problem versus a challenge, or a good problem versus a bad problem. It is what you make it. I can choose how I look at this. You change what you look, or change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. You can certainly have more agency in certain environments if you simply dare to stay true to yourself. And it isn't easy, but isn't it worth it? I love that we're getting more of that representation, that you can simply be a good person in an environment that could call for you to be other things, but you'll get there eventually doing it your way. You just have to have a little bit of patience and a little tenacity and be true to yourself and not willing to sell your soul. So that's all I have for y'all today. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this, as well as the interview. This was a really great interview to dissect. I had so many thoughts, but I'm going to cut it here so that we're not going too long. I look forward to reading your comments in the comment section. If you are a founder and you don't have to share your product if you don't want to. I know it's the internet, it could be crazy. But if you are a founder or a business owner, or you are the head of a company, you want to share some advice for people who want to succeed in business but not betray themselves, whether it's a quote, whether it's a book, whether it's anything that has helped push you in business in any form, shape, form, or fashion, that has helped you stay true to yourself, authentic to yourself, and be a good person who can sleep at night with a clear conscience and still be successful. If you have advice for how to achieve that, please leave that in the comment section. I would love for the comment section under this video to just be a wealth of knowledge of how to get ahead without betraying yourself or others. Maybe that should be a book. It might already be. Let me get on Audible and see if that's already a book. But anyway, if you have advice that speaks to that, I would love to hear your takeaway, as well as your takeaways about this interview. What are some things about the interview that Meghan touched on that I didn't get to touch on in the video? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like, subscribe, and share, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.